to locate it either.
Yeah.
So, you haven't spoken at all. How did you keep in touch with your family at this time?
Oh, mail was a big thing.
Yeah.
Big thing. I lost mail. You didn't lose it. It was delayed because when they keep moving you around,
They have to
that
find you
fleet
again.
post office in Hawaii was fabulous. I mean, thousands of ships and places, and mail would take 5-6 days sometime, and you had it.
So did you write home? Who did you write to?
I wrote home to my parents minimum once a week. I had other friends in service, and they were girls.
Okay.
I had somebody I knew from New York, and she wrote me every single day while I was overseas. Never missed a day. And she numbered them, so I knew a sequence. Went on for a year and a half, whatever I was away. And but mail was a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get to ports out in the middle of some godforsaken island, the mail bags were waiting for the ship. It was a great system.
Yeah. I see you have some photographs. Can I just ask you a few questions before we go
Sure.
through the photographs? So, what did you think of Navy food?
Surprisingly good. Certainly better than I think the Army ate.
Yeah.
And you asked me a question earlier about why did I pick the Navy. I knew I was going to sleep on a mattress, a clean mattress every night. The troops out in the field certainly didn't have that. Yeah.
When you're not on duty, how did you and your comrades entertain yourselves?
On the ship, basically, you were on duty all the time.
Okay.
You may not have been in the sick bay, but you were there. Every morning, 4:45 in the morning, you went to general quarters. And that would last 3/4 of an hour. That was a given. And you ran to your station. My station was not in the sick bay. My station was right up here.
Sure.
On the front of the ship, right up here. That was a double 40mm anti-aircraft gun.
Got that pointed out right there on the front of the Kitson.
Right. And when those guns went off,
Yeah.
there's nothing between them and us but a steel deck. And the vibration when those suckers went off, I'm telling you, we were right there.
Mm-hmm.
It was a forward battle dressing station, so we had a bed, we had a big cabinet on the wall filled with things.
Right.
That was a better duty than some of the others, because while we were there was no doors or anything between us and the latrines and all that. So we took turns, and we'd go in there, we would shave, we would do what we have to. Then when you went off general quarters, it was time for breakfast.
Yeah.
We were all dressed already, we were ready to go. We were always the first ones into the chow line.
Yeah.
But you went to general quarters every morning.
Did you have where did you go on leave when you went on leave?
I didn't have leave.
I mean, well, when you're on the stateside.
Oh, well, we were in Worcester in Massachusetts,
Right.
and we stayed there basically.
Yeah.
200,000 people lived in that city. 20,000 men went to war, and 85 of us came in to replace the 20,000.
Yeah.
It was great. I would go home once a month. I remember one time my mother said something to me, in fact, well, we going to see you more often? I said, yeah, sure, I'll be back. Then it stretched to 6 weeks. I lived out Long Island at the time, so it was about a 4 or 5 hour trip. But There was no way I was going home. We were living good. I have pictures in here.
Sure. And so one thing I want to ask you before we do pictures here, what were your medals or citations that you received?
Very basic. There was a Victory Medal, American Theater, that was for being in the service in the States. I got Asiatic Pacific, if you were out there, you automatically got it. And then I got the Philippine Liberation Medal, 1 star. So I got 1 star on the Pacific thing, 1 star on the Philippine Liberation. About 20 years later, I found out there were medals. So I found a place in St. Louis, and they sent me 3 medals. They said the Philippine medal has to come from the Philippine Embassy in Washington. And then they gave me the address, who never answered, never sent it. And they laid in the drawer, they're in boxes, 50, 60 years. Just this past year, I took them out and I put them on a frame. I got it on the wall.
All right. So you have pictures with you. What pictures would you like us to share here? And I'll help you show them for the camera.
All right, the ship, of course.
Yep. The Kitson.
This is an exact replica of the ship. Ours was the 123. This is 200 and something. That's why I say they built almost 250 things like this, and there were men in the Navy never knew what they were. If you weren't in the amphibious force, could be you never knew about things like this. We had almost 600 crew. They needed about 150 or more men just to operate the landing craft.
Yeah, that's
Not only to operate, I had the men the booms, take them out, pitch black at night, put them in the water, things like that. And I found this subsequently, years later. This is the whole story about this ship. These are some of the staff. You were talking about the women. Waves.
Can I
Yeah,
take it out of
sure.
the binder here? I'll just put it right back here. So
They
we have-
weren't the most attractive women in the world. And they're in that picture, the ones the next one. Well, put it this way. It's some of the parties we had.
Is that a picture of you right there?
That's a picture of me and my brother,
All right.
and a picture of me next
What's
to
your
it.
brother's name?
He's passed since.
Oh,
He
I'm
was
sorry.
4 years younger than me. He caught a different war. He went in Korea. And as I have pictures,
That's all right.
Yeah.
You can share the pictures that you want.
yeah, I mean, that was me. That was my cousin. He was a flight surgeon on an aircraft carrier.
And what's your cousin's name?
Norman Goldberg.
Norman Goldberg. Okay.
And
I'm just trying to put you back in there, Norman.
Yeah. And I don't remember. This must have been right out of the boot camp. Yeah. But anyway, these are all pictures I took at home. Stuff like this.
So, where are you in this
That's
particular
all
picture?
Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor.
Yeah,
Is this
all the pictures of Pearl Harbor. And after the war ended, we didn't have much to do. So if you look on the other side, you can see
Well, when you're in Hawaii,
That's exactly right.
surrounded by a lot of beaches.
Yeah.
Can you name any of the people in here in the
Oh,
pictures?
yes.
Would you
I don't
please?
know which ones.
It's okay. Take your time.
Oh, yes. Well, that's me, of course. Yeah, this is Jack Stewie, who was a registered pharmacist.
Okay.
And I met him there in Pearl Harbor. And there's another picture of he and I together here.
So Jack
Stewie,
Stewie.
Stuwe.
Is he on the left or the right here?
That's me on the left.
Yep, okay, I'm just making.
Yeah. And he was a registered pharmacist when we went in the service, and they made him a carpenter. And he absolutely refused to work with the carpenters. He absolutely refused. He would muster with the carpenters. He was on some island out in the Marianas somewhere. And he said once he mustered with them, he'd go to the dispensary and hang out for the rest of the day. He came out of Michigan. Great guy. Gotta tell you another story as long as we're telling.
Yes, go right ahead.
When I met him in Pearl Harbor, we had this pretty good-sized dispensary, and he was the pharmacist. And he would make up turpentine hydrate for coughs, whatever. Well, he had to draw alcohol from me to make up these things. And then he cut a
By draw, meaning that he'd have to requisition.
requisition, yeah.